So it's not for kids.
I really enjoyed rewatching Akira. I don't think we talked too much about that. I thought it was really funny that you raised your hand in the movie theater.
I know. I keep wanting to like find that guy and be like, thank you so much for being a really good sport. We should probably tell the story. We go to the small indie theater to watch like a showing of Akira. There's always like a guy who kind of presents the movie to the audience, and he's like talking about the movie. And I had like 2.5 beers, I think, at this point, and I just don't, I get buzzed easy, I guess. People call me a lightweight. Yeah. I take issue with that, and I just was like, he's not gonna say anything about the fact that like, they invented like 200 fucking colors for this movie. And I literally, just raised my hand, and we're in like the back row of this tiny theater, and he goes like, I guess we're taking questions from the audience now.
You didn't just raise your hand. You raised it and you ignored you, and then you raised it again.
I just had to. It was like the compulsion, the intrusive thought would not leave, I guess. So anyway, I appreciate him giving me that opportunity, but
some of our other friends were in the row behind us, and they told us after the film that the moment the host said, I guess we're taking questions now, I melted. Because I was like sitting next to Tom, and I just like my shoulders slumped, I like tilted my head, and I literally did a face palm. Yeah. And I like shrunk in my seat, just like trying to not exist next to this human.
You did the I don't want to be here. Like, that's what was going on for you. You tried as hard as you could to disappear, and everyone saw you. They were like, he's associated with that guy, with that weird ass.
Actually, did you know that the movie Akira used over 2,000 different colors?
The funniest thing about that showing is the first time I watched the movie in a few years, and I was kind of like, I hate to admit that our friend Ian was right, because he said that after he read the manga, he didn't look at the movie the same way. And he thought it was very rushed. And I was like, nah, the movie still holds up on its own. But now I've read the manga and I watched the movie and I was like, it's very rushed. Like, I was noticing it. What can I say? I saw all the colors.
Yeah, you counted them as you're watching the movie. Mm-hmm. Do you think they added a few extra colors in there so they could just bring the count up? Vita Coco Blue here, and then they were like, no, we got to do light Vita Coco just so we can have an extra.
We got to break records. That's what making movies is about, is breaking records and being like the first to do something according to the New York Times.
The shot where Tetsuo runs into the psychic baby, there's like an explosion, and then for only a single frame, there's like 6 dots in the bottom right of the frame. There are just like 6 colors they didn't use anywhere else. They're just like boom, 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 boom.
Like, we got it in. Their sole motivation was just to like make the count go up. Like they weren't actually interested in trying to get a particular like feeling or.
It was like finishing the book report.
Yeah, exactly. Like just word count stuff.
Welcome to Shelf Stable, a podcast celebrating board games that have stood the test of time. I'm your host, Kenny Katayama.
And I'm the other host, Tom Bowers. Today, the feature topic is chess and all that other shit that you and probably most of the people listening to this don't necessarily play.
At least not regularly.
Yeah, you're not going to game night. You're not breaking out the chessboard, the checkers board. But before we talk about the main topic, we should talk about just some of the stuff that we've been playing recently. But before we talk about that even, I think there's a couple of things that we should probably address just kind of going on in society somewhat.
Yeah, so Upper Deck recently had a press release where they announced that they had acquired the Harry Potter IP. I think they said the coveted Harry Potter IP.
Coveted.
Obviously, this was received with quite a bit of backlash. J.K. Rowling has been funding groups to limit the support to folks who are transgender, non-binary, has actively spread hate in the community and things like that. The only thing that they've commented so far was, well, we don't plan to release anything yet. That's not what people are looking for. They're not looking for you to release something with Harry Potter in the future when people have cooled or have forgotten about you acquiring this IP. They just don't want you supporting this IP.
Don't give her the money in the first place. Like that's the point. CGE already like kind of fucked up by even like proffering that cash, and then they did the right thing by at least counterbalancing, but like counterbalancing,
it's still not ideal.
Yeah. Like that's not what we want.
I mean, the good news with the CGE thing is that the community had an effect. So I think it's important for us to continue to support folks who are in need and kind of call out bullshit when it comes up. Tom and I are not going to be covering any Upper Deck games moving forward. We also don't plan to be purchasing any of their products. If they want to announce that they're not going to be using the IP or they're going to be dropping the IP or something like that, then by all means, like we're happy to drop that ban. But same thing as with CG, like we have to see an action come out of this, something that they're holding themselves accountable to. Balls in your court, Upper Deck.
It's kind of wild that they made that announcement seemingly like oblivious to what happened with CGE, because it felt like
I would be inclined to think they're completely oblivious because they're more on the trading card side of things anyway. They're not really in the board gaming, with the exception of like the legendary IP in general. I wouldn't be surprised if they're just not as plugged in. We got a couple more, unfortunately. The latest wave of the BGG Hall of Fame was released recently. There were 5 games added. 2 of the games added were Puerto Rico and Terraforming Mars. You know, we've talked about these 2 games in the past. Puerto Rico has some problematic depictions of slavery and colonialism. Terraforming Mars, the owner of Fricks Games, Enoch Frixelius, has explicitly posted anti-trans messaging on Facebook. The company as a whole endorses and even defends the use of AI art and has been using it in most of their games since AI art has become more of a thing. There's problems with these 2 games, and I'm inclined to agree with what a lot of folks are saying, which is like a Hall of Fame recognizing accomplishments should be taking that into consideration.
I think half the problem with it being a Hall of Fame that highlights the artifacts rather than the people is part of the problem, because the artifact of Terraforming Mars, it had an impact, had influence on like the hobby and its ranking in the Board Game Geek top 100, whatever. But then like to highlight that and sort of ignore what Enoch Frixelius is doing as a person and what the games company that they run is continuing to do to the hobby. It's like a failure to like sort of recognize the underlying humanity.
Plus there are people like Jeff Eaglestein who, like, I wouldn't say they're recognized for their game designs, but they're a hugely influential person in the board game community who will never see the light of day in a Hall of Fame like this. Even like Aldi for creating Board Game Geek. I think it'd be kind of funny for Aldi to be in the BGG Hall of Fame, but I definitely think that Aldi deserves to be there.
Right, in a way, yeah. It's like that meme of like Obama giving himself a medal.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 100% with you, Tom. That's basically what Jay from 3 Minute Board Games has been touting. He actually has an attempt at making a Hall of Fame that would recognize the people. So I'll link that video in the show notes.
What's the stance exactly?
I think the first run of games for the BGG Hall of Fame was really concise. And one thing we called out was that they had explicitly not included a game like Puerto Rico, even though we expected it. So I would just like them to take those 2 games off if they can, but I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe next year they're going to have different folks on the board and they'll just reflect on that and pop it off. I don't think there's any problem with removing games. Shall we do our last one here?
Yeah, I guess.
Sam Healy of Dice Tower fame had some pretty scuffed comments on Facebook recently, blaming Alex Peretti for his own death at the hands of ICE. A lot of folks have been commenting, asking the Dice Tower to take an action as a result, or at least have a comment on it. But the Dice Tower is continuing to do what they have done in the past, for example, with the whole Ace of Spades thing, which is to delete any comments that are relating to Sam Healy and the things that he said. It's totally understandable to not want to focus on politics. I think it's up to each content creator to determine how much they want to talk about politics or how far their reach goes in terms of politics. However, I don't think any creator, any human, can be completely apolitical. I fully understand some people wanting to not hear a bunch of stuff about politics. There's a reason that we just don't talk about the latest in politics every week. You know, our banter tends to be pretty funny. But at the same time, when things like this come up, when it's especially relevant in the board gaming space, when somebody in our community says something problematic, I think it's our responsibility as just decent human beings to call out bullshit. And especially if you're employing that individual, I think it's even contradictory to try and censor people bringing it up. Because if you're truly apolitical, you wouldn't want Sam Healey's politics to have any sort of influence on Dice Tower.
Right.
You would sever ties with Sam Healey and put a public announcement that says the views of Sam Healey do not reflect the views of the Dice Tower. That's right. Being as apolitical as you can be, but that's not what the Dice Tower is doing. The Dice Tower is trying to hide this under the rug, not address it in any way. Since then, Sam Healey has publicly said that he is stepping down from the Dice Tower, amongst other really cringe things that he said in that announcement. That doesn't absolve the Dice Tower. We're still waiting for some kind of action on Tom Vassell and the Dice Tower's part. Sam already has done the damage. It's on you to be on the right side of that damage and not protect him, protect your audience, and protect the people that need your help.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm just going to go out on a bit of a limb here and just make it clear to any of our listeners. If you thought we were like a pro-ICE or even just a neutral about ICE's existence podcast, I want to make it explicitly clear. We are a fuck ICE podcast. We don't fuck with ICE.
I love the idea that somebody's been listening to like almost 80 episodes and they're like, I really thought they were either indifferent or supportive of ICE.
I thought they were apolitical about like, you know, American fascism. I thought they were just like not interested in it at all. No, we care. And like Kenny said, kind of like we don't bring it up every single week because that would definitely get tired and we're not a news podcast. Yeah. But when shit like this comes up, like you're saying, and it's in our community and it's like, it's not like the Dice Tower is just like a nobody YouTube channel. This is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, like YouTube channels. I'm out here saying fuck ICE. And like, I'm not saying the Dice Tower has to say fuck ICE. It'd be very preferable if they did. But to see something like this happen, you know, with somebody who's like on their payroll and not simply address it as like, these are the opinions of an individual. They don't reflect our opinions and views, like minimum level, which is an extremely neutral stance, right? Like, I'm done. No more.
Well said, Tom.
I lost it there at the end, but thanks.
That's our little news update. All right, let's do some more fun stuff, shall we, Tom? Let's talk about games.
Let's just get right the fuck into it. Have you played any games recently, Kenny?
I played a few games. You know what? Here on Shelf Stable, sometimes we like to talk about board games. Let's throw politics out the window here. Welcome to
it's a game about owning a home, which is
building a suburban
I think that
community.
Might be political.
No politics. No, stop knocking on the glass. Welcome to, I think the full name is Welcome to Your Perfect Home, is a 2018 roll and write by Benoit Turpin and published by Blue Cocker Games. It is considered one of the flagship roll and writes, I would say. There's a few of these that come to mind, but like when you think of like, name 5 roll and writes, it's probably one of the ones that comes up in your mind. Yeah. And the reason that I was playing this was because we got a Project Mom update, Tom. We need like a little jingle. Project Mom.
Yeah.
It's been a while since my mom has wanted to play a new game. I always kind of floated around, but I don't want to pressure her because I want to make sure that she is fully internalizing the rules of one game and she's ready to take on the next thing instead of just pushing a new one on her. So the reason you haven't heard about Project Mom in a while is not because I'm not playing games with my mom, but just because we've been playing Carcassonne, we've been playing Azul, and we've been playing Ticket to Ride. We've also been playing Mahjong. Finally, she was like, yeah, I think I'm up for playing a new game. And so we went into the roll and write territory, which is the next level in complexity. Immediately, my mom was like, this is too much. I think that's one of the problems with roll and writes. They just have a lot of stuff on the paper, and that can be really intimidating sometimes. But we walked her through it. We taught her the rules. And by the end of the game, she was loving it. it all came together near the end of the game, and she was like, wow, okay, it took me a while to get here, but I've internalized what's going on, and this is cool. I don't think she'd really experienced a game that was completely non-confrontational. I think all the games we've played so far, even if it is a Euro, there's still quite a bit of interaction. And so it was kind of like a eye-opening moment for her of just, oh, you can play board games where we're just kind of heads down. We're still having a moment together, but like you can't mess my stuff up. And she liked that quite a bit. I definitely am getting the vibe that even though she likes interactive games, she also has a soft spot, at least now, for like these heads down, you're solving a puzzle kind of games. She really didn't like one of the specific abilities in the game, which is the investment, because I think that just like took everything that she was understanding about the game and made it way too confusing. You're like trying to block off these subdivisions of houses, and each one meets a requirement for achievements at the end. All that she was fine with. Anytime the investment ability came up, she was like, what does this do? And then I said, it increases the value of those individual subdivisions. And she was like, so I need this to complete the achievements? And I was like, no, they just increase the value. And then she was like, okay, so when I complete an achievement, I get to tick a box for the investment. I was like, no, you just do that whenever the investment comes up. Like it just like, that was the thing that like broke her brain. And so eventually my partner and I were just like, don't worry about the investments. Like just check off the one that you have the most of, which is the 4s, and we'll move on. And then it was fine. So okay. I guess if you're teaching this to your mom or to someone who's less familiar with board games, just don't mess with the investments. Everything else seemed to be fine.
Just say it makes the number go up.
Yeah, exactly. But then she thought it like, there was one moment where she thought it made the buildings go up so she could add a number somewhere. She thought it worked like the biz. I was like, no, don't add things to your buildings. I get that, like, as somebody external to it, it's like one mark too much on like the list of things to learn.
I was gonna say, it strikes me as funny to realize like roll and writes get kind of a lot of flack almost for being really simple, more like a group activity than a board game, blah 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 blah. And really, I think like they only work because they ape on expectations that are set by other board games in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, yeah.
They're built on heuristics that we as board gamers understand. They're almost like a snack version of a meal or something. If you've never had the original meal, you're just like, what do I do with this?
I'm trying to think of like an analogy that is related to food that makes any of that make any sense. It's like,
yeah, that was not good.
Oh, you know what it's like? It's like eating cereal that is based on Oreos without having eaten the Oreos first. And you're like, what is this trying to do?
Her overall feelings were like, it's not her favorite of the ones we've played so far, but she very much enjoyed it and she wants to play it again. To the point where like, after she was gone, after she had left our house, she like texted me later that night and was like, what was the name of that game again? That was like surprising to me that she like wanted to look it up afterwards.
That's how it starts.
That's how it starts. You get them hooked. I could see it being a situation where when she's like had a chance to play it a few more times, she's like, this is my favorite game. It's definitely one of the roll and writes I enjoy the most. Not for theme, but just because I think it's one of the first ones that I experienced. And so it kind of has a soft spot for me.
That night, she kept having a nightmare where she'd roll the dice. The only thing she could pick was the investment action. She was like, I still don't know what it does.
It was Welcome to.
Yeah. So I recently played a game that I feel like I've seen this game floating around for ages, and I never even knew what it was about somehow. But it's called Dungeon Fighter from 2011. Aureliano, Buonfino, Lorenzo Silva, and Lorenzo Tucci Sorrentino. Sorry for butchering your names, guys. And published by Iello. Dungeon Fighter. Now, I need a caveat here. Technically, I played the collector's edition, which is a more recent big box, like back my Kickstarter version of it. But it's, as I understood from the person who taught me the game, shout out Austin, it's the same game, which is that you have a big dartboard in the middle of the table, and you have to throw dice onto it. And the way in which you throw those dice onto it is specified by whatever monster you are up against. or whatever weapon you want to add to modify the outcome of your roll. So it's not really a like dice rolling game. It's a dexterity game but like dice, are just the dexterity piece on a little target board. Have you played this?
Not yet. I really want to.
I definitely did not hate the experience. I was quite enjoying it. There were a lot of delightful moments. The worst part about it, and I think in general, is that there's like some vagary as far as what exactly some of the dice throwing modifications are. It's like they were really grasping at straws on some of them. Like one would be like, you have to throw it from your nose. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? Because there's like no way I'm like balancing this dice like I'm a dog on the tip of my nose and then throwing it onto the board. Stuff like that.
What'd you end up doing? You just put your hand on your nose?
Like I held it like the die between my finger and nose and like threw my face and finger toward the board at the same time. Like I don't know, it worked. However, like you can overlook that for the fact that like it's a relatively lightweight game. And surprisingly, I feel like a lot of these games, they can kind of start to overstay their welcome. But I was like excited to get back to my turn. And then when it wasn't my turn, I was just seeing what, the other players were doing. And it's cooperative, and we were just like chortling with the like fact of like, oh, it's practice time. Oh, that's a practice one. And it would just be like, they get a good shot on a practice shot. It's like, okay, we'll just do that again. And then they, of course, like totally miss.
It wouldn't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh. And the funny thing was too, that I was told at the beginning that they lose this game like the majority of the time, seemingly. At first, we were like breezing through it. I was just like, how do you ever lose? This seems so easy. You just knock these guys out. You just like, just hit the board. And then a combination of having to jump and throw the die by smacking it with your palm came up. And you had to like do both technically. And it was like fucking impossible. We literally just all fucking died like almost instantly to one boss. It wasn't even like the final boss. It was
That's
just
interesting. You kind of have to like develop different dexterity skills depending on what the challenges are.
Yeah, basically. It's like in retrospect, we made a mistake, I suppose, in choosing the dungeon path that forced us to have to jump because the smacking with the palm, like we didn't know that was going to come up, but the fact that like adding jumping to any other modifier is like, oh, brother.
Yeah.
So
jumping is hard.
Jumping is hard, especially when you're old and don't, bend your knees enough like I do. But that's Dungeon Fighter. It is a fun game, quaint game. I'm not so stoked on this that I'm going to go out and buy it. And I'm just going to like give it a number rating right here and say it's like a solid 7.
I think it's so funny that you'll just like randomly do a number rating every like 30 episodes or something and act like it's something we normally do. Tom, we're going to go to the limit of what's permissible in this show. We're going to go to 2021 and look at Great Plains by Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert. Lookout Games. This is the same duo that made Mandala. It's actually in the same line of games. So like Mandala, this is a 2-player only game that comes in that patchwork box. That's part of that Lookout series for 2 players.
No, you got me excited.
Great Plains. What if I told you that Great Plains is my favorite of that series? And I've played a lot of games in that series.
Okay.
I'm really excited to talk about Great Plains because up until now I haven't been able to. It feels like a Knizia game without some of the things that are like less favorable that people think about Knizia, where like sometimes he can get a little caught up in his scoring, or sometimes it feels like he just makes games that are rehashes of other things he's done. Great Plains feels wholly original while also maintaining kind of the simplicity of his tile laying style games. Like with those tile laying games, you have a board of hexes and you can place pieces of your color on the hexes. You place them extending out from the areas that you already have pieces. And then it's an area control game where you're trying to have your colored pieces have a majority in each of the territories. And then you score based on how big that territory is. In addition to that, there are spaces in between the territories that you can place pieces where they're obviously not going to contribute to area control, but you get these little bonuses. You get a horse bonus, a bear bonus, and a bird bonus, which allow you to move in special ways. It's a game that feels a little Go-like, feels a little chess-like, is so easy to teach. It's so pure. It has yet to be uninteresting for me, which is surprising because I have a very low attention span when it comes to games. And especially with games that are kind of simplistic like this, it's very easy for me to be like, all right, played that, moving on to the next thing. But like Great Plains, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's so short and approachable, but like, I just feel like I have funny and interesting moments with this game every time I play it. And the game doesn't feel the same every time I play it. I might be in the minority, though. Some people have described this as becoming a little samey after they've played it multiple times. I just haven't had that experience myself. If I was forced to become like a professional gamer in a game, like I could feel comfortable playing this one like a bunch. Can't remember. Have you played it?
I haven't. What's wild is that it's somehow in my want to play collection already, and I don't know why.
It's so quick that we can pop a game of this out in like a few minutes, you know? It's that quick.
I have been liking Mandala quite a bit, so...
it has the Mandala vibe where it's doing a lot with a little. Not quite in the same way that Knizia. Like, I don't think Mandala feels like a Knizia game. It has that vibe, you know?
Yeah, I can see it based on the pieces, the board and everything. It's like, it's got that stuff going on for it.
Yeah. That's Great Plains from 2021.
Kenny, well, you know what? You went all the way to 2021, the edge of stability. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to talk about a game called Unsettled. Now, this one I haven't necessarily been waiting to talk about per se. This game is interesting because I think I first played it in 2021, probably not that long after it came out.
I was shocked when you told me this was shelf stable because I was just like, didn't this come out yesterday? Like,
right when I moved back, we had a friend who had this game and I played it with him and I was like, this game is interesting. It's definitely got like a lot going on. And we played it a couple of times, like 2 or 3 different sessions. And then I kind of like mostly forgot about it, but then something happened and he reminded me of it. I was like, oh yeah, that game. I think I remember liking that one overall. Finally, it happened. We get it to the table. We get into it. It's a cooperative game. Think like Pandemic, except you're alien explorers. And then every alien world that you're on is supposed to have these like hyper divergent wild rules to different things and like the story and it throws you in all these different interesting directions or whatever. We're playing this again and it's been years. It's literally been 5 years. And I'm like, this did not hold up. It was way better the way I remembered it being than actually playing it again. And the foundational problem is that there is way, way too much fiddly business. There's just so much shit that you have to like remember to like, oh, okay, I made this decision. All right, slide that action marker, then slide that marker, which it does cascade trigger this thing. Oh, but that status effect is being applied. So make sure that you account for that. And it's like every single like decision, step, movement, like every little thing you do has to be like tracked on the sprawling expanse of like pieces and components. And at first it's like cool, but then it just literally starts to impede the actual effort you need to make to figure out how to accomplish your objective. And then you like take a step back and you look like, what's my objective? And it's basically just like, you need to pick something up from over there and deliver it over here. and watch out for falling rocks.
Is that seriously it? It's just pick up and deliver?
I'm kind of underselling it, admittedly. And like, if you could buy into the story, which I'll get to in a second, I think you could be like a lot more sold on some of the actions you're taking. Like you'd be like immersed in it or perhaps or whatever else. But like, yeah, the majority of the things that you're doing in the game is like, I scrounge around on this tile and then it's like, okay, hold on. Looks like you found this random thing based on the top of a deck. And it's like, okay, what does that do for me? It's like, well, if you go somewhere else, you'll find something. And if you pick that up and bring it back, or if your status is this, you can change that or whatever. But a lot of it is just like the core gameplay is sort of like Forbidden Island in some ways, where it's like you got to go find like the mysterious artifact and bring it back to the helicopter. Like, it's not exactly that, but like if you played Forbidden Island, you practically played Unsettled. You just skipped all the fiddly nonsense stuff that you have to like track, move around, take care of, update, blah, blah, blah.
So what's the hook then? Like, if you were to envision a reason that people would like rather play Unsettled, is it just the cosmetic aspects or, you know, the hype around it, or?
I think there's a cosmetic aspect. I think there are definitely, like, what are the things I like about this game? There are some interesting, like, thematic things that I think are cool. Everyone gets, like, special abilities that have, like, a sort of face-up side, and it's considered the high trust side. So when your team is working together, you have one ability. If the trust falls...
Trust fall.
Yeah. Your ability changes. Conceptually, that's really cool, right? It's like, okay, like the trust in the group is low, so therefore I like to have like a greedier ability that's like more interested in preserving myself than helping my team or something like that. But again, like in practice, it just ends up being like another thing where you constantly have to double check, like, hold on, which, you know, are we in high trust or low trust? Did the trust change? Like, and it changes somewhat periodically based on certain player actions and stuff like that.
Yeah, every time I have like my towel out at the beach, I'm always like, are we in high trust or low trust right now?
Yeah. And to encapsulate like how that fails the core gameplay is like, I can't necessarily make a predictive decision where I'm like, okay, we're working together on this thing. I'm going to use this ability followed by that ability, because if the trust falls, you just won't have access to that ability that you're relying on, right? It's more in the way, even though it's really flavorful and interesting. And all this to say, I haven't even dived into the other issue, perhaps, with the theme, is it's very of its time. I think this term almost gets overused, but it's that Whedon-esque, he's right behind me, isn't he, type writing. It's not always like as bad as that, but it's very similar. I mean, the best example came up literally during this most recent session, which was like execute reverse yeet, I think was the exact name of a card. Like the letters YEET are printed on a card. For me, and I was saying this to the guy who brought the game, it just takes you out of it. It's like whatever immersion I could be getting from this whole like trust rising, trust falling thing, our power abilities, you know, we're on this deadly planet, it's trying to kill us, we're trying to get the stuff. And then I'm like, oh, and I have to activate execute reverse yeet in order to accomplish the next objective. It just instantly, I'm just like, okay, I'm back to like being on Vine. Like what?
You're like, my trust in the designers of this game is falling right now. The trust level.
Yeah.
That's the unwritten effect of the yeet card. It lowers that trust
I think
level.
I would have had just like a lot more patience for it if it had been playing it straight, and if the story was just interesting and compelling in its own right, and it wasn't like falling back on tongue-in-cheek comedy shit, because the biggest thing the game could have going for it is that it has all these elements that feel evocative or thematic, even if they are kind of annoying to actually like manage and deal with in terms of play. I could forgive all of that if I felt like I was in something, but like I said, you just kept getting taken out of it. So very frustrating experience, and I'm sorry, Kyle, that you brought this to the game night and we played literally 1/4 of like a mission. And I was like, I think I get it. Yeah, I was like, I gotta call it, because I'd literally rather do anything else than like find out what happens next, because like there's just too much to have to move around.
It's a shame.
So it's so close to being something I think I could really enjoy, but just like that death by 1,000 cuts, basically, essentially.
That was Unsettled from 2021.
100 games to play before you die.
All right, Kenny, it's time to talk about the 100 games that you are required by law to play before you die. And game number 63 on that list, Blood Rage from 2015, designed by none other than Eric M. Lang and published by Cool Mini or Not. Rest in peace.
All right, Blood Rage. It's here because it's a very elegant marriage of kind of the Euro aesthetic and ideology with the American, more like thematic games. But unlike Scythe, which is also on the list, I'd say Scythe is more of a Euro efficiency puzzle with a little bit of that thematic / conflict sprinkled in. I think Blood Rage is the opposite, where it's very much North American beat people up kind of game, but then it has these Euro sensibilities baked in that are very elegantly, I should say, baked in. I think what makes it stand out is that it's also an Eric Lang design, and Eric Lang has done a lot of interesting stuff. You know, you and I very much enjoyed Cthulhu Death May Die. I think his portfolio varies in terms of how successful it's been with us and how much we enjoy the games. But when there's an Eric Lang game that is good, I think it resonates quite a bit. Blood Rage is one of those. I think it's really exemplary of his style of game. There's a good chance that if you like Blood Rage, you will potentially like a lot of his other games, especially the other games in this trilogy, which are Rising Sun and Ankh.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of interested to revisit this one. It's been such a long time for me that I've played this, and I don't even think I had the ability to appreciate it when I last played it. But I think like if you are going to put Eric Lang's name on this list to represent him, which is ironic because we were just complaining about how the Board Game Geek Hall of Fame puts the games before the people. But Blood Rage, I think, is probably my own top pick for his designs.
Nice.
Well, I guess other than Cthulhu Death May Die, but I feel like Blood Rage is easier for the average individual to dive into.
Yeah, Blood Rage is more accessible because Cthulhu has the co-op aspect. It also has all the admin. It's not a hard game by any means, but it's still a little bit more than Blood Rage.
I'll have to table this one again, then we can do this exact same segment again on a later episode, and I'll be able to speak more to it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll loop through the list, right? We get to 100, we just go back to 1.
Can you imagine? What would the fans do? They like riot somehow. I just realized there's like a massive flaw in your 100 games list that I think have been overlooking like this entire time.
Yeah.
Unless there's some surprises up ahead. But where's Monopoly Deal?
You know what? It just barely didn't make it in. Sorry, Tom.
It's actually number 100 though. I'm going to like go in and edit like the HTML like the day before you look at it. Enough nonsense, enough yapping, enough complaining, enough fucking bitching, whatever the hell we've been doing all these hour. It's time to get into the real meat and potatoes, the main topic of this week's episode, the part of the podcast people come back week after week to listen to, and that is none other than the topic of games, board games, true board games, the classics. We're talking about chess, talking about checkers, talking about backgammon, talking about poker, I think. All these games, they've existed before Board Game Geek even, was a domain.
You're giving like Steve Brule energy right now.
Yeah.
Everybody played games. Chess and checkers.
Play a game like backgammon.
Poker. Let me ask you, Tom, why is it that board gamers don't play these?
I would argue, but I could be wrong, as I almost never am, that most gamers have like one of these in their pocket.
They pick their favorite.
Yeah, like they're like, oh yeah, that's like my jam.
Yeah.
Like normally I'm Uwe Rosenberging it up, but hit me with some Texas Hold'em and I'm there.
I think you're onto something. Every person has their like cute little, what do we call these? Not normie game, because normie game is like Monopoly.
Public domain?
Yeah, everybody's got their public domain that they carry in their little pocket. It's like in a little sash, kind of like a love letter, in their hearts.
Yeah. Like for me, it's like a little chessboard that's like really tiny and all the pieces are magnetic. So they don't fall all over the place when I'm riding in my car. And then you've also got
poker now. You got 2. So you're cheating on chess right now with poker.
It's true. I've already mastered chess. That's the reason.
You know what? No, let's dispel these concepts of you can be polyamorous, right? You can love chess and poker.
Yeah, love is infinite, Kenny. The only restriction on the amount that you can love things is time.
We all die one day.
I wish I had a lot more of it. I'll say that.
Wow, that's deep.
At what point does like the love for something like run out? Like it's it's not a resource that you have to like extract and dig for oil. You create it, right?
I think the reason that there's so few games about love when there are so many games about conflict Because that's not the case in film, right? In film, you have a lot of action movies, but you also have a lot of romance movies.
Mm.
I think the reason is because it's a lot harder to use love in a way that feels relational to its concept. This is such a tangent, but yeah, it's a lot easier to have like a health bar. It's not easy to do like love in a way that makes sense. And anytime they do it, they just do like a love meter where you can go like too much on the left or too much on the right. And that's not the right way to approach that. That's not what love's about.
Yeah. I actually, you're creating a very interesting concept. Maybe we could create like the first board game about polyamory. And by the first, I mean, like, I know someone has already done it.
Oh, really?
There has to be someone that's like broached this concept on some level, but maybe they haven't. But I'm like, you could, in theory, create a game that is about like you're trying to hang out with your polycule, and it's like just one of those games where like the resource that you're pinched for is time. You're just like, oh fuck, I gotta get shit on the calendar. You know, they've moved to orbital status when I actually wanted them to be my nesting partner.
But even it's I mean, you could illustrate the system of polyamory and how it comes into conflict with your time, but I don't think it goes to the core of what it means to love.
It goes back to conflicts, man. How do we get out of this?
I don't know. I think role-playing
we need like
games
a Hideo Kojima of board gamings to give us like the first Strand type board game so that we can like explore what it means to love and connect with each other instead of shoot at each other.
Sorry, y'all. We'll get back to chess and other games.
This was way more interesting.
It is interesting, actually. Maybe we should do a whole episode about this. You know what we should do if you get Amabel Holland?
Yeah, Amabel Holland guest star episode.
Because Amabel is polyamorous, and if there's a designer to actually illustrate the systems and the concepts of love or of romance in a way that is meaningful and not just another health bar, I think it's probably her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Amabel.
Let us know.
Okay. So the question of why do board gamers not play these as much? My initial reaction was to say, well, they found better. You know, they found games that are deeper or appeal to the things they like more. I don't know that that's the case. I think like a lot of these games are deep. A lot of these games provide an experience that no other game can provide. I don't think that's always the case. Like, I think there are games that are better than Rummy Cube, for example, even though I still enjoy Rummy Cube. But like, I think Mahjong, for example, like is going to produce something that is different from any other sort of set collection, Rummy styled game. I mean, Gin Rummy is the same way too. You were talking about chess. Like, I don't think there's a chess killer out there. I don't think there's a game where you can say like, oh yeah,
They've been trying.
I like chess, but then once I found Agricola, I was just like, this is like a strictly better chess, you know, like there's no parallels there.
Yeah.
I don't play Through the Desert and think like, well, this is just better Go. You know, I think I can actually play this, whereas I suck at Go, but that's different from saying it's better than Go.
I play Through the Desert and I go, this is better than Go.
Better in like what way though? Not better designed. I think
no, better for the same reason that you said, which is that my fucking dumbass can actually play this and like winning, have a chance. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that's the first proposed hypothesis, and I think that's wrong. I don't think that it's because these games are inferior in any way. My
biggest problem is that I have no preconceptions going into this. I'm just like,
you're an open book.
Chess is a game. Poker's a game. I feel like...
You don't make that delineation?
Well, I do and I don't. And I mean, it comes up in the book that we've been reading, the characteristics of games. They talk about these as these are the evolved games where no one entity, no one person has technically ever crafted the rules from scratch, but just over millennia, over time, through the course of history, various authors, if you will, of how the game is meant to be experienced have collectively created a set of rules that is now cemented typically by some kind of like governing body,
right?
Right, that sets the stage for healthy competition for all of these games. And so the standards are created by committee. The rules are created by committee and stuff like that. And that's in opposition to the games that we would refer to now. Anything on Board Game Geek that has a credited designer, stuff you could call a designed game, or what's the term that they use? Deliberately designed. Yeah, I think that is the term they use. It is interesting because I think even in that book, Garfield said something like, it's not really clear like what process is better in a way, or like which process creates a superior game. But there's some argument to be made that these evolved games like have become like the best that they can be. And in a lot of ways, like other games are typically, the starting point is to imitate at least one of them.
I think you're alluding to another thought that I had about this. We're thinking of these as like in the same space. And so why do people who like games not like these games, or I guess not play them as regularly, when really they're a lot further apart than maybe they seem? They're designed differently, like you just said. They're created in different ways. They're also appealing to different sensibilities. Like, yes, they're both things you play, but like one of them is very abstract. The other one tends to be much more thematic. One of them demands study to really get the full experience. Like you talked about this last episode of like, you know, if I got to play another game where I have to watch YouTube videos to understand even like the theory behind it, that's what we're doing with chess, with backgammon, with mahjong. You don't have to study Agricola before you play it the first time. Yeah, you got to learn the rules, but then you can just hop in and be okay. Whereas like, I feel like there is a lot more work to be had with these games to even get to a point of fulfillment. It's different if you're a kid, but like as an adult, like, I don't know. I just don't think you can sit and appreciate chess after playing it one time.
Yeah, a guy who's played every game one time only, he's just like, I'd like to get back to chess someday.
I feel so targeted right now. No, but yeah, like I think that if you are an alien who has played like every game on my 100 games list except for chess, and then you come to chess and you play it, you probably would be like, I don't know if I really enjoyed this one. You know, it didn't have the same vibe as the other ones. You know, I'll pass.
Yeah. What exactly does this have over Zerts exactly? I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I think I'll get back to Through the Ages. It's a completely different space. I've said this in the past and I'll say it again. I think that chess is more of a sport than it is. Like, it's more similar to tennis than it is to Agricola, which is a wild statement to make. But like, if you look at how people engage with it, it's something where people train. They literally train their bodies to get better at it. They're like studying it. It's the one thing they play. They play it head to head. And a lot of times they can play it casually and have fun, but a lot of other times they're playing it extremely competitively. I'm making generalizations now, but I think culturally, like, chess is more on the side of like a sport than it is a game in the traditional family game night kind of sense, or, you know.
Meeting someone who's into chess, and if they're like a board gamer, it would literally be the same as like they play football. It was like, what? It's like, how do you have that much free time generally? And even for myself, like I joked earlier that I have mastered chess. It's like I've reached a percentile, as I understand it, with my Iello that puts me like in a position where like I'm like 90% better than the average person who knows what the rules of chess are. And so playing chess against someone who's only ever learned the fundamental rules, it's a joke.
Yeah,
There's just nothing.
I mean, you've got literal like
anymore.
Book stuff ingrained in you. Like you have opening moves and things like that, which somebody who's just messing around is not going to have.
I mean, you almost make it sound more impressive than it even is. It's like, I watched one YouTube video. He taught me the London opening, and it's just like, that's just like what I play, right? Yeah. Like someone could learn the counter strategy in theory to me and like probably be able to dominate me, and they don't even necessarily have to learn much more than I did.
You're saying it on the cast.
I know, I'm putting it out there. That's our strategy. Learn how to counter the London, and I'm probably going to get screwed by you.
Your next chess opponent on chess.com is going to like look up this podcast episode and he's going to hear this. And he's going to be like,
no, what's going to happen is we're going to go to like a convention. Like one of our fans will be like, hey, Tom, want to play a game of chess? Yeah. And I'll be like, oh, brother.
I think another thing with these games is that you're often exposed to them via the avenues that are not culturally ingrained. Both ways. So as a board gamer, you're not going to be like, I don't know, Mahjong might be an exception because Mahjong is going through a little bit of a resurgence right now. And poker as well. Mahjong and poker. Mm. But like, if we take chess, if we continue doing chess, like somebody who has gotten really into board games, they're not going to be reading up on games and then go, I still haven't played chess to this day. Maybe I get into chess a little bit. At least not the average board gamer. I know there's exceptions. But they're probably more inclined to play more board games than they are to play some of these classic games. It's just not part of that culture. So that's part of what's creating the divide. Similarly, people who get really, really into chess or one of these games, they probably got into it by somebody who's also passionate with them or a family member or something like that. It didn't come from a board game group that was happening to play chess that night. And then they went down the chess. Like that one, even more confidently, I don't think that people who get really into these, they're splitting off after experiencing the chess game at a game night. That doesn't happen. Usually it's almost exclusively somebody coming from the outside who's probably never heard of these hobby board games. In some cases, via the adjacency to the hobby, they then go and explore other things and then get into what we're doing. Everybody knows that person that played a ton of chess in chess club as a kid. And then when they got older, they got into Magic the Gathering. And from there, they got into board gaming. But I don't think like the average adult who's like hardcore into chess would even know the names of any of the hobby board games, except maybe like Catan and Wingspan. Like they're just culturally separate. I think that's another factor.
It's a rare family where your dad came home from Walmart with a game and completely owned you, and that game was Agricola. It's more likely that the game was chess, or something like that, right? At least that was my experience growing up.
Even if somebody completely owns you at a board game that isn't chess, the chances that that's the one board game they play is like not likely. Like they're either in the board game camp or they're in the this is the game we play camp.
Yeah.
If you happen to be one of those kids who has parents who owned you at Agricola, it's probably just one of many games they played. Wouldn't that be funny though? Like somebody that plays Agricola, like they play chess. They have no other board games at home. They just have Agricola. Oh yeah, I remember my parent had a copy of Agricola growing up and we just played that every weekend. I didn't know there were other board games out there.
Never got on Board Game Geek, like never looked into it in any way at all. Yeah.
I thought all households had a copy of Agricola. That would be so fascinating. I want to meet that person.
Well, I was going to say in theory, like that generation is kind of growing up right now. Cause like you can just go to Target and like buy a lot of this shit. Well,
yeah, but
like, there's got to be at least, we were just talking about this a few weeks ago. Like I just saw like a mom make a TikTok like video that I saw on YouTube. And she was like, I bought this because my son picked it at the store and it was Root.
Whoa.
Like, sure, it's possible that she just ends up in the whole board game world, or her son does. It's also possible, not necessarily equally likely because the hyper-connectedness of the internet, that it's like Root is just like that weird game that they figured out how to play like once.
Yeah.
And then they played it, or they figured out how to play it. They played it multiple times and they loved it. Somehow never dived into the wider world, right? Who knows?
Yeah, but
like, I'm just saying it's possible.
It's possible,
it's more
but
likely.
It's more likely that either they pick up Root, it's too much, and then they don't pursue it, and they just have a copy of Root that remains unplayed, or they pick up Root, they get into it, and then they explore the rest of the board game world. Just this like scenario of like picking up Root on a whim because it looked interesting, and then just playing Root is like it feels highly unlikely to me. Yeah, I'm sure it has happened, and again, I really want to meet that family, but like it's conceptually hard for me to envision.
Mm-hmm.
People don't work that way. They don't go and do a thing that is adventurous, and then if it has positive gains, just stop there. They usually try to explore what else is out there.
I wonder, like, what would lead to a happier life, though? Like, maybe, like, you should have, like, a zany adventure and then just be like, you know what?
Can you imagine if you live without the internet for like the first 18 years of your life, and then you discovered like homestarrunner.com. Your friend shows you Homestar Runner and you think it's like so funny that all you do is go on Homestar and you've like memorized all the jokes, you've watched all the videos, but you've never touched like any other part of the internet. Like that just doesn't happen, you know?
That's true. That's really funny to imagine like someone knows like Trogdor and then someone goes like, oh yeah, Trogdor, I remember that. You know Harambe? What? And it's like, wait. Although those don't really overlap as much. It'd be like knowing Trogdor and like not knowing Alien Hominid, I guess. Like, you know.
Yeah, or like, oh, have you heard All Your Base? And they're like, what's that? Is that a new Strong Bad email?
Which is like especially funny because like I think there's like not often, but I think there's like some allusions to outside media in Homestar Runner itself. Like
this sounds like some kind of teen fiction, like teen science fiction book that we're writing right now.
It's like the good version of Ready Player One, where instead of making like infinite references to everything that they grew up with, they make exclusive references to one very specific thing and literally don't know what anything else is. Yeah, and that somehow is the key to saving the world.
It's like a commune of kids that grow up with just a limited piece of the internet in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
I got it. It's a Fallout vault. Like
yeah, right? Exactly.
It's just one of the vaults. They put them in the Homestar Runner vaults. So that's the only culture you get.
The Homestar Runner Fallout vault.
And then in another vault is like just the normal family, and the only game they have is Root. Like,
you go into the Fallout vault, and they're like, a ghetto. The dad comes out. He's like, Jimmy, you're not supposed to. No, that's not a good Strong Bad.
That was decent Strong Bad, I thought.
The mom is like, oh, here we go again. Someone else trying to get into our vault.
That's Strong Sad? Is
that was a Strong Sad. This is just the rest of the podcast now is me doing impersonations of Homestar Runner characters.
Yeah, we're the children of Vault 67-1, like the Homestar Runner Vault.
You should have just said 67. You had it. Why does it have to be 3 digits?
I thought they were all 3 digits. I don't fucking know.
It could be
I've never consumed a Fallout.
Anyway, we're veering off the holy path again here. We got to get back to
topic. It's the meat and potatoes. This is the part that people care about, and we were talking about old board games that no one plays on our board gaming podcast.
Maybe we'll leave the audience with this. What is the most hobby board game that it feels like it might become one of these?
I think like Six Nimmt is like one of the earliest things that came to mind as far as like a game that could become like ultra classic, and most of the reason is like it's still just like a deck of cards with numbers on it, but it's not a rummy like, it's not a poker like, it's not like a true classic deck of cards. Like it's very much its own thing broadly.
Yeah, you see it in the same space as like rummy or like hearts or something. Like it'd be like the Six Nimmt game that we always play.
Yeah, like I could see it evolving, and I could even see like the fact that it's cards numbered 1 through 104, but they have like those varying numbers of bullheads on them. Like I could see other games or variants and so on and so forth, like really coming out of that and like it having some kind of evolution. And I say all this while recognizing that like I don't think that many people are talking about Take 5 at the same time. Right. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it gets a resurgence.
For me, it's John Company.
Oh, yeah. What?
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
What's that game that you like to play where you do like the 4 in the row, but they are like different various totems?
Oh, Quarto. Yeah.
I think Quarto has that vibe. It's already on the cusp anyway. Like it's kind of this like abstract.
Yeah.
That like it's head to head, right? Abstract head to head.
At the end of the day, though, it still feels like you're playing something that's like akin to Connect 4 or Tic-Tac-Toe. But I don't think it gets to like chess levels, but like in a way where it's almost like a checkers game.
Yeah.
And it has that evolve ability. I think there's something to that, but
yeah.
I'd really like to see more like versions of Quarto, the way that chess gets like a Zelda version or like a Mario chess set. Like I want those for Quarto.
You want the fair. Fortnite Quarto. You want the spotted treatment.
Yeah.
Double for our UK audience.
Yeah.
On the flip side, classic game that I think is the most board game, I think it's going to be Hearts. It's going to be a trick taker for sure. I think because
you say that.
Yeah.
But I think it's backgammon.
Backgammon? My problem with backgammon is just roll and move is not really a thing in our hobby.
Yeah, but like backgammon has like so many sort of like arbitrary pieces. Like it's the game that like requires like the most unique stuff.
It has
like
black and white checkers. What are you talking about?
Well, what about the die? Like it has like weird dice.
It has like the marker, but I don't know if that's different.
Am I getting myself confused?
It's been a while since I played backgammon.
Maybe it was just me. Like maybe I grew up with like a copy of backgammon that had like what's up with the No. What's up with the die with the powers of 2 on it? That's what I don't know.
I think that's for scoring.
I just feel like backgammon has like part of the prestige of it is the fancy like board / box. And it's like, it's a Kickstarter game before they invented Kickstarter in a way. Like, you know, there are probably like merchants out there being like, buy my backgammon set. It's Irish horse leather or something. I don't fucking know. Stuff like that.
Comes with the pre-painted minis.
Yeah, exactly.
You think backgammon? Interesting.
It's tough, really, to nail this down.
Yeah, I think vibes-wise, but I think heuristics, it just doesn't have a lot of overlap.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I bet you we're missing one. They're going to be like, no, what? Like,
how did they forget? Like the fucking, that thing. Yeah. The game that you're thinking of, the listener
that one.
Right
that's
now,
what we agree.
That's the game we meant. That's the one we were talking about.
You know what? I think it's insert game here.
Citation needed. I think we've said enough. I think we've probably said too much.
We probably said too much, this one.
That's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm sorry that you did, but I'm glad you're here. Thank you especially to Michael, Tyler, Devin, and Josh of the Boise Rainbows for your sweet segue music. Then thank you to Bonehouse for letting us use your song Raw as our opening theme.
If you're loving the cast, share it with a friend, or on Reddit, or on BGG. You can also reach out directly at shelfstablecast@gmail.com. All this and more will be available in the show notes. If you like what we're doing and want to make more of it happen, consider subbing on Patreon. You'll get access to bonus content and Discord. Tom, next week.
Yeah. You know what, Kenny? It's going to be getting close to Valentine's. I think it's time that we talk about
so stupid
board games that you can bring on your date night. That way people can enter February 14th fully prepared for what lies ahead.
Yeah, you're going to want 2 copies of Food Chain Magnate. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
See you.